Hello again, wrestling fans, and welcome to episode number 143 of the Scumbags Wrestling Podcast. My name is Shawn. I'm here in London, Ontario, Canada, and we want to welcome our friends over in the UK who are listening via the Johners Podcasting Network. We are also part of the Ontario Indie Wrestling Podcast Network here in Ontario, and we welcome everybody who's watching live right now on Twitch, YouTube, or on Facebook. Of course, you can always listen to us later on Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or any of the other outlets that were available for podcasting listening. So please like and subscribe and share this so we can build up bigger. And as said, we're not only in Canada, we're over in the UK and, of course, globally. But with the help of the Johners Podcasting Network, we're able to reach out to people through that. So thank you and welcome. Please leave your feedback, and we welcome everybody. Speaking of welcoming people, in Toronto, my co-host, Stephen O'Neill. How are you, Stephen?
Good. How are you?
Not bad. Yeah, I spent the day at work and kind of peaceful, so can't go wrong with that. I didn't find a whole lot of news per se this week. There's some talking points, but there's a lot of different events that happened this week. So,
yeah, you can say that.
We'll look at the results of some of the events and discuss upcoming things like AEW's Revolution. We'll do a bigger look at that next episode because they're only a few days from the actual pay-per-view on the Sunday. But unfortunately, we do need to start off with some bad news. And let me bring up the picture. If you're a fan of NWA, you have noticed Josephus or Joseph.
Josephus. I can't pronounce the fucking name.
Yeah, and he was also the question mark. So unfortunately, Josephus passed away unexpectedly. There is a quote and posting from Billy Corgan that I'm going to read. But NWA President Billy Corgan shared the news on his Instagram page of Joseph Hudson passing away. Hudson was a figure on the NWA Power program. As a question mark character, he was paired with former NWA national champion Aaron Stevens on the program. So Billy Corgan wrote the following about Hudson. It is with a heavy heart that I share that my friend and brother in wrestling, Joseph Hudson, has passed away suddenly from an as of yet diagnosed medical issue. NWA fans would know him as Josephus, as well as the question mark, where thanks to the great fans at the GPB studios in Atlanta, Joseph was able to receive the kind support in the ring he'd always dreamt of. He is survived by a young son whom he loved dearly. And if anything would pain him about leaving this earth, it would be not being able to be with, therefore, his boy. Rest in peace, Joseph. Love to you and Godspeed. His tag team partner, Aaron Stevens, which people would know as Damian Sandow, just posted, "My heart is broken. Rest in peace, Sensei, question mark. Thank you for all you have done for the fans and for me. This does not seem real." So just thoughts and condolences out to his friends, family, and those who worked with him. I did see him on the couple episodes that NWA Power did do on YouTube. Were you familiar with his work?
Yeah, because I was watching NWA Power. His biggest success in NWA was the question mark. Not a bad talent. Seemed like a great guy from everything I've read about his passing. So it'd be interesting to see what the medical condition turns out to be. But another guy lost too soon.
Yeah, hey, he came off as a very old school NWA to that extent. It was like he should have been in the 70s and 80s version of NWA instead of the 2020 version. But very throwback, old school, doing the question mark gig, the karate sensei stuff with Aaron Stevens. So yeah, unfortunately, rest in peace to Joseph Hudson. Looking at some results from this past weekend, Bloodsport 5 happened, which is Josh Barnett's Bloodsport 5. Calder McCool defeated Bad Dude Tito by TKO. Kelvin Tankman beat Nolan Edwards by TKO. Cal Jackman defeated Super Beast by submission. Rocky Romero beat Simon Grimm by submission as well. Chris Dickinson beat J.R. Catus by submission. Jeff Cobb beat Tom Lawler by submission. And then in the main event, it was a battle of undefeateds, and John Moxley ended up beating Davey Boy Smith Jr. by TKO. They've been trying to get Moxley against Josh Barnett for the longest time, and that's actually going to finally happen, apparently, at Bloodsport 6, April 8th, when Josh Barnett and Moxley go against each other. So it's been quite a busy time for Moxley doing Bloodsport this past weekend. He's getting ready for Kenta at New Japan Strong. And then
that was taped, though, way back in December.
The Kenta match?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that it already happened. I thought it was going to be more upcoming and live. So, news to me.
When New Japan Strong here in the U.S. did their tapings in December, they've taped right through until I think middle of March, and then they have another taping coming up next week to tape another big chunk. Can you tell what I follow?
Yeah. So he's taking care of that then, but he is also getting ready for March 10th, is it? No, 7th, with his match against Omega at Revolution, the barbed wire exploding death match on March 7th. So busy time for a guy like Moxley. And then, of course, as I just mentioned, April 8th, Bloodsport 6. So not bad gig if you can do it, I guess. Elimination Chamber was this past Sunday, and surprisingly, there was very few matches on the card, and it only lasted 2.5 hours, not counting the kickoff show. But on the kickoff show, they did insert a third contender for the U.S. title, and they had John Morrison beating Ricochet, Mustafa Ali, and Elias in a four-way match to qualify for the match later on in the evening, and that set him up to be in the match with Riddle and Bobby Lashley. The main card started with the SmackDown chamber, and Daniel Bryan and Cesaro started the match off, and Corbin was eliminated first, then Sami Zayn. Kevin Owens got his arm crushed in the door that slides now, and Jey Uso ended up taking out two guys, being Owens and Cesaro, before Jey Uso got taken out by Daniel Bryan. And an exhausted Daniel Bryan was no match for the head of the table, Roman Reigns, losing in 90 seconds, even though he caught Roman spear and put him in the yes lock. But 90 seconds later, he was dead, and Roman retained. But he ended up getting speared by Edge, which definitely set up the fact that Edge is going to go against Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. He's not waiting to call it beyond that match, but kind of was telegraphed anyways with what happened on SmackDown as well when Roman took out Edge. So the next match was Matt Riddle defeating John Morrison to take the U.S. title from Lashley. Riddle did some unexpected heel moves, I guess, with using the crutch to take out Lashley and then pin Morrison, who was in the Hurt Lock, and we got a new U.S. champion. People were commenting that he was honoring Evil Knievel with what he was wearing. And yes, I get that. But I jokingly put up on different social medias that I thought it was more like Super Dave Osborne. So your thoughts on those matches before we move on?
The first Elimination Chamber match was my favorite of the night. I necessarily didn't like Roman Reigns beating Daniel Bryan in like 10 seconds, it felt like. But it felt like there was a story there in that Elimination Chamber. I liked Riddle winning the U.S. title. I think Lashley's it's going to sound really bad, but above it. I mean, I think he should be in the world title picture. But I like Riddle. I think him having a little bit of a heel turn might be a good thing, but I enjoyed the first two matches. But it kind of goes downhill from here.
Yeah, unfortunately. I only wonder what would have happened if Keith Lee had still been available to be in that match. If he'd taken the title and Riddle would have been the one taking the pinfall. But Riddle now has the belt either way. And as you said, with Lashley, having the title and being dominant built him up, I think. But yeah, he definitely need to get rid of that. And they kept him also strong by not losing. And with what happens later on in the evening, that's setting him into the world title realm, if not even getting the belt for a brief time. But right after that, Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler ended up defeating Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. Sasha took the loss. Your thoughts on the tag team match?
Why do they do stupid shit? That's my thought.
Yeah, well, I thought they were going to do more towards building up Sasha and Bianca than what they did. And it's interesting to the extent where we saw a couple episodes ago on Raw, Naomi and Lana got number one contendership, but we've now seen Sasha and Bianca. We just saw Charlotte and Asuka on Monday. We're going to see Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez on next Wednesday on NXT. And you got number one contenders that are not there.
I would like to see Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai win them. But I also would love to see the Riot Squad, an actual tag team who can go to different. I think Shayna Baszler should be in the female world title picture. And I mean, I feel like Nia they need to either do more to protect her and not make her look so bad. Because I don't enjoy her. At one point, I thought she was improving a lot, and then it just seems like since the pandemic, it's just been like, oh, I don't care if I hurt someone. So
she's pretty much calling it in.
Yeah.
And so I think also it would be nice to get the titles off them. And with what happened also on Monday with Shayna kicking Asuka in the face and breaking a tooth at least, that'd be nice to at least play off that and put Shayna in the Raw Women's title hunt against Asuka. But at the same time, what is going to happen with Charlotte? They're going to have to get the belt on her, and we got Rhea Ripley coming to Raw soon as well. Then there was the main event, which was Drew McIntyre retaining the WWE Championship in the Elimination Chamber. And it was kind of a slow burning match, but they also released a lot quicker in that match than what they did with SmackDown when there was different intervals in the SmackDown one just to tell the story that they did. But not so much in the Raw one. Earlier in the night, you saw Miz talking to MVP, which was the reason why Lashley ends up attacking Drew after the match, and Miz came in and cashed in Money in Bank and is the new WWE champion. So your thoughts on that one?
Sorry, this was which one?
The Raw.
Oh. I mean, I think I didn't like this Elimination Chamber match as much. You could see where it was going. I think we talked about it last week, and I think we both called The Miz winning, or Drew not walking out with the title set up his WrestleMania moment. I think Lashley wins it on Monday Night Raw coming up, and I think Lashley takes it into the WrestleMania as champion, and Drew McIntyre gets his WrestleMania moment, which I think is good.
I think regardless of Drew's interaction in that match, I can see possibly Bad Bunny costing Miz that title. I know, not the best booking, but that sets up their match and gets that off them. And McIntyre really doesn't have a huge grudge to go against Miz anyways. He could get revenge on him on a Raw for screwing him over, but Miz just capitalized on the Money in the Bank issue. If it wasn't for Lashley, they wouldn't have been in that position. So that's why he'll go after Lashley for the title and get his WrestleMania moment in April. So that's where I see that.
I mean, I think Lashley defending the world title against Drew at WrestleMania is probably the best option.
Yeah,
I think it's the most reasonable. I feel like it's the best matches, probably.
Yeah, for sure. Not much happened on Raw, even though it was 3 hours and I had 9 matches, but some of the matches just were there for the sake of being there. Charlotte was more herself, yelling at her dad to just go away. You had the start of the show, Lashley wanting to get his title shot and even put Miz on the clock to give him his title shot or else. But, of course, Braun Strowman gets in there and they decide whether or not Braun's going to be in a 3-way match next week, and that didn't happen because Lashley did defeat Braun. But they stretched it out at least another week before Lashley ends up getting the title. And, Retribution lost to New Day. They look like they're finally ready to have Ali get rid of them. And maybe those guys will end up able to be themselves and get rid of those masks and stupid names that they have. Any thoughts on Monday Night Raw?
I didn't watch it. It's pretty common for me not to necessarily watch Raw and SmackDown because it's tough to watch. So I haven't gone back to watch what I want to watch yet because usually there's
highlights,
snippets, that I'll end up wanting to watch. But I mean, it's so tough to watch Raw and SmackDown.
Understandable. Last night on NXT, you had Dakota. What's her name? Casey Catanzaro against Xia Li. It looks like she might have broken her leg. I don't know if that's kayfabe or not. You got Cameron Grimes trying to do the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase thing. Dexter Lumis and Johnny Gargano were pretty decent until they stopped wanting to use the chair and try and make Lumis like he has something on the other Indy Hartwell and what's his name?
Austin Theory. I actually love the fact that Austin Theory has Stockholm syndrome. It seems like. I mean,
you got to watch cartoons and eat Fruit Loops.
And I love the fact in the interview segment later on when Gargano is like, I don't understand what's going on. And he asked Indy Hartwell to agree with him. And she's like, I think he's hot. And then it was
both Gargano's going, what the
Yeah, which is great. I watched basically NXT the whole night, flipping back and forth, but really it was only for the first about hour until I fell asleep on my couch.
And that's the upside to us here in Canada, because this was the first week that NXT was available live on Sportsnet 360, going head to head with AEW. So the Wednesday Night Wars, whether you believe in them or not, are actually now across the border, and you can decide which one you're going to watch, flip back and forth. Who knows?
I couldn't believe watching NXT live, because obviously we usually watch it on a tape delay, and I usually have to watch it either Thursday during the day or on the weekend. Watching it on like a tape, you never know if the production value, if they've edited it, but the production value makes AEW look so bad.
Yeah, well, they're in an amphitheater, and it's like community theater, where we'll talk in just a moment. The fact that it's almost has-beens and never have been, and not much in between.
Oh, Lord Jesus.
Yeah. So just quickly running down AEW from, finishing off NXT, ended with confrontation with Adam Cole. He was crying, and O'Reilly's out for a bit. Roderick Strong came out wondering why, and they got interrupted by Finn Balor, a brawl. Roderick ended up taking out Cole, but then apologized. They hugged it out, and there was crying, and next thing you know, Cole turned on Roderick by giving a low blow and standing tall as ultimate heel, and definitely have destroyed the Undisputed Era in Cole's pursuit of getting the title back, because he couldn't wrap his mind around the fact that O'Reilly was getting all these title shots and failing. So that's his excuse for what he's doing, and wants his belt back.
They had what I would say the best thing going in the Undisputed Era, and they just decided to end it. And I don't even mean end it in a way that I'd be super interested long term. They just kind of ended it, and now I assume Finn Balor is going to take over the Undisputed Era.
Yeah, who knows?
I mean, we haven't seen Fish in a while because he's been hurt. So if the 4 to 6 weeks that O'Reilly's out, if him and Fish are coming back together, I would be okay with that, but I don't trust them that they're not going to butcher this. So
and they definitely drew a line between where Roderick stood, instead of being caught in between, which could have been a little bit extended conflict before he made his decision of who he supported, instead of Cole taking him out the way he did.
Yeah, was not what I would call how I would have done it, but.
So then on the other channel, in our case TSN, or in the States being TNT, AEW had Moxley beat Ryan Nemeth in no time flat, less than 2 minutes. He cut a promo about his match against Omega for next week, or on the pay-per-view. The Young Bucks arrived with their parents, and they saw the truck with their faces on it, and that just hinted at what was to come. Ricky Starks and Brian Cage beat the Varsity Blondes. There was a video of Darby Allin and Sting came out with Hook, Taz's son, in the body bag instead of Darby Allin. They unzipped it and revealed a Hook. Taz freaked out as Darby Allin came ziplining through Daly's place and had his skateboard in hand and started beating people up with that. And of course, the faces are standing tall. It looks like Sting is able to actually take some shots. He survived the powerbomb from Brian Cage last week, which was actually the night before, because this was a pre-tape show. And Then there was a video with Miro and Kip. Just garbage. Hager beat Cutler with no problem. MJF and Jericho beat up Papa Buck as the Bucks were calling them out. They appeared on the screen, and Papa Buck's all cut open and thrown into the side of the truck where their faces were and stuff like that. So they just added some more heat to their match coming up at Revolution. There was a video of Shaq and Jade training and Velvet and Cody. They really haven't done much promotion with Cody on this one, but who cares? It's just a small match that's going to happen next week on Dynamite. Probably just get eyes of fans of Shaq's. Hangman Page beat Isaiah Cassidy. Dark Order were siding with Page to hold off Hardy and everything. Hardy ended up coming out threatening to beat up every member of Dark Order because of Hangman Page screwing him over. Omega had a video making a chamber for Moxley and hyping him the pay-per-view. Bleacher Report show is going to happen this weekend with Rio taking on Thunder Rosa as part of the Eliminator brackets. Nyla Rose beat Britt Baker to advance in the Eliminator. And Jurassic Express FTR had a promo for their match coming up. And the main event saw Lance Archer beat Phoenix to get into the ladder match at Revolution. Your thoughts? You're going back and forth, so
I find it very funny. The Jericho MJF beating up Papa Buck, and then Blood and Phoenix. It's amazing what he does, but I don't find his matches as entertaining sometimes. What else
it was a really
there?
good match, but at the same time, they made sure that neither of them were going to make it into the ladder match. So you knew somebody had to win, and it's going to be Archer. Somewhat probably in the role of Kane would be in a Money in the Bank.
I'm trying to think what else. I mean, Sting dragging out Hook was different. That isn't who I necessarily expected in the body bag. I actually expected it to be Darby Allin. And then Darby had his Shawn Michaels moment.
Yep.
The Varsity Blondes, I think, are way better of a tag team. And I think if Pillman can ever get out of his MLW contract, I think the Varsity Blondes have something there. Did you see they're having a casino tag team battle royal at their pre-show of Revolution?
Yeah, I was going to run down that card, and that match, it's a casino battle royal for the AEW Tag Team Championship match. They can get a future one, and it has Bear Country, a fan favorites of ours.
Well, they've been on Dark a lot, winning.
Pardon?
They've been on Dark a lot, winning matches.
Yeah, I think they've appeared once on Dynamite proper, but yeah, a lot of episodes of Dark. Dark Order, Alex Reynolds and John Silver. Dark Order, Evil Uno and Stu Grayson. Inner Circle members Santana Ortiz, Butcher and Blade, and Private Party, along with Top Flight and a team yet to be named, will be involved with that. And then Miro and Kip Sabian are going to take on Best Friends, Orange Cassidy and Chuck Taylor.
Oh, fuck me. Fucking
bathroom break.
Did you see the stupid segment? Sorry. The stupid fucking segment with Miro, Kip Sabian, where they fucking passed them the note that you'd pass someone in elementary school.
Will you have this match? Yes, no, or yeah.
Could they have made these people look any more stupid?
Well, probably, but we'll have to see. Other matches on the card include the Young Bucks defending the tag team titles against Jericho and MJF of the Inner Circle. Team Taz, Brian Cage, and Ricky Starks taking on Darby Allin and Sting in a street fight. So I think it's still probably going to be a cinematic match, even though Sting has taken a few bumps the last 2 episodes. Hikaru Shida is going to take on the winner of the Eliminator tournament for the AEW Women's title. Adam Page against Matt Hardy for a big money match where the winner gets the other person's first quarter earnings. Cody Rhodes, Scorpio Sky, Penta L0, Lance Archer, Preston Vance, aka 10, Max Caster, and one other person yet to be determined, which I've heard potentially could be somebody like Ethan Page, if the rumors are true, are going to be in a
10 takes on someone next week to get into the
yeah, sorry, yes, it says Preston Vance or Max Caster, and that'll be the Revolution ladder match for future TNT championship match. So they're setting up a lot of potential matches for the future, and of course the main event will be the exploding barbed wire death match for the AEW World title, Kenny Omega defending against Jon Moxley. So that's coming up. We'll talk about that probably more, as I said, next week when they've had their go-home show the night before. But that's a lot of the results that have happened lately.
I've got the numbers for last. I've got the numbers for last night.
Yeah, go for it.
Dynamite drew 831, up 11% from last week. NXT drew 734, up 3%. It doesn't say Canadian numbers because they come out way different. Next week's going to be bad. Do you want me to run down the new recruiting class in NXT, or do you want to do other news first?
No, you can do that.
So 18, I believe, people were introduced for the next class of NXT at the Performance Center. So Bronson Rick Steiner's son, is the first one here. Kira, I'm going to butcher, Magni Forster, a.k.a. Taya Valkyrie. Sean Ricker, also known as Eli Drake, now known as LA Knight. Angela Arnold, she was wrestling for Booker T's Reality of Wrestling, as well as Shimmer. She competed as AQA. Probably the biggest wild card in this whole class is Parker Boudreaux. He's 6'4", 300 pounds. And Paul Heyman, I believe, called him the next big thing. He's probably the most raw that could be something, I think, out of all these, because I think Rick Steiner's son maybe has the wrestling in him. Anthony Henry, standout from Evolve. Don't remember what his name was. It could have been Anthony Henry, but he's part of it. Chance Barrow, better known as Harlem Bravo, off the independent scene. He's wrestled in Japan for Pro Wrestling Noah. Teresa Serrano, now competing as Zoe Starks. Her name was Lacey Ryan prior to. Christian Bigham, better known as Christian Casanova. Priscilla Kelly, now goes by Gigi Dolan. Drew Caspin, also brother of Jacob Caspin, who joined the Performance Center in October of 2020. Brianna Coda, now known as Cora Jade. Christian Hubel, Blake Christensen, who actually was just on Impact's pay-per-view. He's been in Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. I was actually really impressed with him in Impact, so be interesting to see where he goes. Matrick Belton, he's been training in Combat Zone Wrestling Academy. Cameron Clay has been in the known as Cameron Bainin on the independent scene. Joe Ariol looks like collegiate wrestler. Taylor Grado competed as Avery Taylor on Evolve and Shine, and Krista Rivera made herself known on the independent scene for New and Women's Wrestling Revolution. That's only 18, and I believe the rumor was there was 30.
Yeah, it's a huge class.
So I'm assuming that they're splitting this into 2, and in a couple weeks we'll hear more names. I really expect to see Daniel Garcia in this.
Yeah, I was sad that I didn't see his name there when they were running down the list. I'm like, where's Danny? But
the only thing I can think of, if there was 30, I don't think you could bring in 30 recruits at the same time.
That's a lot.
Well, because they were saying that there was 12 or 15 women wrestlers, and I only counted 8, I believe, in this. So I would guess that there's probably another 4 or 5 in the next class, which I'm guessing is announced in and around WrestleMania or a little before.
It wouldn't surprise me if a lot of these people that were announced, minus obviously Sean Ricker, Tyler Valkyrie, and of course the ones that have already made their appearance on NXT, won't make their start in NXT Evolve if that's actually going to be a thing.
I mean, you look at what's his name that just left Impact? I'm drawing a blank on his name. He was just on the pay-per-view.
Christian?
Yeah. I mean, I could see him. Like, I could see some of these guys.
Christian?
Yeah, Blake Christian. I can see some of these guys going right to the main roster, especially getting them ready for after, or not the main roster, but the main NXT roster, especially if there's going to be a fairly, I'm guessing, large shakeup in the NXT with a lot of men and women going up. Like, I don't see Tyra Valkyrie or LA Knight in NXT long.
No.
I can see Taya there until the draft, and then her and Morrison will end up on the same brand. So, I mean, hopefully there's another class, because I did hear Dave Meltzer said that there was like 30 people signed. So
if Taya Valkyrie is in NXT beyond, say, SummerSlam, I'll be surprised.
Yeah, I mean, the only way I could see her being in past SummerSlam is if they put the belt on her and let her have a run.
She could be the one that takes out Io.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be okay with that, because I think she could have matches with every woman on that roster. But I'm with you. I think I honestly don't think she makes it past the draft, just because I can see her being in there just to get used to, what is it, probably 8 weeks. And when is WrestleMania? April
10th.
Yeah, so what is it, 9 weeks, basically, give or take?
Approximately that, yeah.
So that's 9 weeks of letting her get some time in a WWE ring, which, from what I've listened to Jim Cornette, they use real cables, I think. There's a few little yeah, they use some minor differences than most other rings. So I mean, that's just my opinion. I don't think she needs to be on NXT.
Some companies use 18 by 18 rings, and WWE uses 20 by 20s with real ropes. So yeah, there's a difference in just the way they crash and stuff like that. So it's nice if they can at least figure out a WWE ring down in NXT and then come up.
Well, and there's no house shows to go on. Normally, I would have guessed that she would have been put right on the roster and let her go on a like house show loop, like before she really gets but there isn't. So putting her in NXT for 9 weeks to let her get her feet under her for the bigger ring, the real ropes, I mean, makes the most sense.
True. So let's look at some of the notes for the week. Like I said, there wasn't too much. Rhea Ripley is confirmed finally to go to the Raw roster. Mick Foley tweeted that he's happy to see her get there, but hopes the WWE doesn't saddle her with 50-50 booking and actually makes her into a monster contender and everything.
I agree. I think I know you listen to Jim Cornette too. I think she is what he calls the female Rock. I think she's going to be a mega superstar if WWE just puts the rocket on her back and lets her go, because she can go in the ring. She's got great size. She looks the part. She looks good. She can talk. I don't know. There's, to me, nothing that I wouldn't pay to go see on her. Like, she makes me believe, and that would make me spend the money.
Well, her match with Charlotte Flair last year was one of the best matches of WrestleMania. And I would love to actually see her get the rematch at WrestleMania and get the win. And so they are almost 50-50 booking them for those two, but at least she gets the win. But if Charlotte Flair is tied up with something else, I would suggest maybe having Rhea Ripley win the women's battle royal, destroy everybody, come out with that, and then that's be her full introduction to the main roster. Even though she had the Royal Rumble, but she picks up the victory in that and starts going off from there. So that would be where I would put her if she can't do a Charlotte match.
I see what you're saying, but I actually think the women's Royal Rumble match, or whatever they're calling it, I forget what they called their women's battle royal at WrestleMania.
They didn't name it after anybody after the whole the Moolah incident.
I actually would much rather see, if you're not going to put the title on her, or she's not going to be in a big prominent match with a Charlotte Flair, she's not on the card. I don't want to see her unless she's going to go out and throw out every woman in the match like that, stupid dominant. I would much rather see her not be potentially in a match like the Rumble match, and it make her look less than dominant. That's my fear with her being in that. I also see your point. Have her come in and just start tossing bodies, but those matches can be one of two things. They can be great or they can be a disaster.
True.
So, I mean, I could see her and Charlotte and Asuka in a triple threat, which I'd be okay with for the women's Raw Women's champ, and have her walk out with it if she pinned Charlotte. And that puts... you have a year's worth of stuff with the three of them there.
Yeah, anything is possible. So we'll have to hope that Mick Foley's plea to WWE is heard and she gets treated really well. Sasha Banks was on Broken Skull Sessions. If you got the network, and especially the on-demand part, you could actually see it before the Elimination pay-per-view instead of having to wait for that to happen. I saw it in the afternoon instead of having to wait till after that was done. But she was on the show. She talked about getting lost in herself and feeling sort of burned out and depressed. And all she saw was the purple hair. She didn't know who Mercedes was anymore. She didn't see the brown hair that is her natural color. And so she just started losing her mind, I guess. And she got to the point where she ended up asking Vince to be released. And he point blankly said, no, not happening. we'll give you 30 days to figure yourself out and go from there. She actually took like 5 months, but then came back with the blue hair, was in a better place, and we've seen a fantastic version of Sasha Banks since. She's actually been able to hold the SmackDown Women's title and defend, because all the other belts that she won, she dropped the next night. So she's actually getting a good run. She ended up, as I said, being positioned a whole lot better. She is happy to be a pioneer for the first ever women's matches of certain things, like especially the Hell in a Cell. But she's done like 4 of them, and she's like, no more. I don't want to do anymore. She has like a hip injury that's nagging because of her one with Becky, but she's like, I'm done. I'm done with those. She's going to be in more of them, but at least they put her in a great position for that. And then Steve talked about her matches with Bayley in NXT and getting the flowers after that and everything that meant there and being 4 horsemen. Did you happen to catch it?
I have not watched it yet. It's been a week, and making sure T4s and stuff get out for people. That's on my to watch this weekend.
It's definitely a good watch.
I saw the clip of her saying when she asked Vince for her release, and Vince was like, no. And I actually think, as much as Vince is sometimes crazy, I think he knew she was burnt out and she would regret that decision. So him saying take 30 days, and he didn't push her to come back at 30 days. I think he, as crazy as he is, I think he knew what he was doing with that. And I really feel like she's gone to a crazy level. I think she is one of my favorite female wrestlers. So I'm excited to see what they do with her. I still think there's a lot to do with her. I still think there's going to be a 4 horsewoman, 4 horsewomen at some point.
I hope so.
At this point, I would guess that at some point this is going to it should happen. You've got everyone there. You can bring Rhonda back for a year or 2. I'm sure she'll come back.
I think Jessamine Duke, though, is doing more stuff like with Kofi and with Xavier Woods with Up, Up, Down, Down, and getting her own video game thing. She's into that more than even the wrestling side.
Yeah, but for if
a one-off.
can, yeah, I mean, yeah, she's more into the video games, but she's still signed to the WWE, I believe.
Yeah.
So if WWE is like, look, this is the angle, we really want 4 horsewomen, I think it would be great entertainment. I think all 8 of them could put on the show. I think all 8 of them really want it to happen anyways. And I just think it would be, you could start building anytime after WrestleMania for Survivor Series. Because to me, it's got to be at Survivor Series.
Oh, yeah. Elimination style.
Yeah. Well, even SummerSlam, you're probably not going to have a full crowd yet. So your next biggest one after that is where it would fit in the best would be Survivor Series.
Yeah, I agree. So looking at some of the other things, looks like EC3 is signed to stay with Ring of Honor. The NXT UK titles, tag team titles, changed hands as Pretty Deadly ended up capturing the titles from Gallus, who held them for well over a year. A lot of those belts were held for a year. The Miz made history on Sunday by winning the WWE title, becoming the first 2-time Grand Slam winner in the modern era for the title. So that means he's had 2 U.S. titles, 2 Intercontinental titles, 2 WWE championships, and 2 tag team titles. There's a couple people getting close to that, but he's the first to do that. So for a guy who got crapped on for being a reality star from MTV, being a joke, hosting the Diva Search stuff, and getting kicked out of locker rooms, he's definitely made a lot for himself and stayed longevity in WWE.
I love the Miz character. He's what a heel used to be in the 80s. The one where the fans would want to climb into the ring to beat him up because he was so arrogant. And he's improved from the time he first came into WWE till now. He's improved leaps and bounds. Is he Bryan Danielson? No. He's not in that category. He's not going to be the greatest technical wrestler, but he's good. Like everyone shits on it, and I don't think it's as bad as everyone says. I don't know. I feel like people don't like him just because he's such a heel.
Exactly. I was going to say the fact that people hate it so much means he's doing his job. It's like MJF to a certain extent. People hate MJF because he's an arrogant prick and is doing his job to get you to hate him. Nick Bockwinkel did that when he was in the AWA and being the arrogant champion, and you wanted to see Bockwinkel lose. These guys are doing the exact same thing in just the modern era.
Exactly. I think it's perfect. I haven't liked what he was doing with John Morrison recently. I thought it was too gimmicky. Yeah, too jokey. But I mean, he's not going to have a long run with this title. It's fine. I'm sure he'll hopefully get into less jokey stuff with John Morrison after this. So,
well, my ultimate dream, I think I've said it on this podcast before, especially now that they have Taya there, is to bring in Taya and Maurice and have the four of them be arrogant socialites and go after all the tag team titles and stuff like that, gain them, start dissension. You could stretch out a year with this, where then the women split up over jealousy and stuff like that, and the guys have to choose sides, and then eventually there's mixed tags. Like, there's so much to do with those four that could last at least a year, especially on the burn.
And the thing is if Maurice doesn't want to be around for long term, you bring Taya in, and the three of them, Taya, Miz, and Morrison, kind of do what you're doing, and then Maurice gets jealous, say 6 months into it, and that still leads to mixed tags.
Yep.
I don't know how much Maurice really wants to do. I guess it's really not full time anymore. It would be 1 day a week, but I mean, if she doesn't, because I know they have 2 kids.
2 kids, yeah.
Younger. So even if she didn't, and she only wanted to do 6 months of that, you could set up the whole feud for the first 6 months with Taya, Miz, and Morrison, and Maurice getting jealous. You could do the exact same thing what you said, and I actually think it could even be more unique if Maurice isn't around until she gets too jealous, and then you have so many options. So I'm really hoping.
And if the other way, you get Maurice going for the tag team titles that she's never held, and she doesn't have to work half as much. But if you have Taya as your partner,
I mean, I don't remember where Miz and Maurice live, if it's LA, Phoenix, or somewhere out there. So I can see if she doesn't want to do a year program. But if she wants to let them set everything up, and she comes in at the 6 month mark, and it's the last 6 months, and it's leading into next year's WrestleMania,
that'd be nice.
You have so many options now.
Yeah. Hey, We don't have any news on Ryback. That's awesome. But Lars Sullivan, he wants to still do something fighting-wise, and he's going to do bare-knuckle fighting. I don't know if he's going to get stage fright and shit himself and end up having to leave again. So
Probably.
I don't know if his bare-knuckle fighting idea is going to end up doing well for him. Also, WWE announced that they are going to be partnering with A&E, I almost said AEW, with A&E and doing 8 biographies that are 2 hours long of legends. So not only does WWE do great biographies themselves, but teaming up with the guys who pioneered biography with A&E, those are going to be amazing shows to watch. I believe they're coming out in April, and there's 8 of those, and they're going to be, I believe, Sundays at 8 o'clock until 10. But then I think I saw that it's 10 weeks at 10 o'clock. They're doing almost like an American Pickers type show with Triple H and Stephanie, looking for the lost memorabilia of the wrestling world, which I'm pretty sure you can find like Conrad Thompson's house, or at least half the collection, and he knows where the other half is. But they're looking at things for Ric Flair's robe, different things like Kane's original mask that somehow they don't have, and they're out in the world and looking for them. So it'd be a nice history show, wrestling meets American Pickers.
Well, they've supposedly, I think they were at Conrad Thompson's house for this show. I believe Jim Cornette's house for this show.
The warehouse.
Sorry?
The warehouse.
Mm-hmm.
Because they got plenty of stuff there.
I forget who else. Another podcaster's house they were at. I don't know if it was Brian Lass, maybe, because he's got a collection. There's quite a few. I'm interested to see the treasure show. The biographies, I think they did some last year too, or 2 years ago, I feel like. And they were good. I feel like last year, 2 years ago, they had in and around April too that they had a few. I thought Austin or someone or Andre the Giant. I just remember it being on A&E. I'm interested because, like you said, WWE knows how to produce, and A&E really knows how to produce. So, and they're just on the network, I think, right? Or are they on A&E at the same time?
They're going to be on A&E, I believe. I'm not sure if they're going to be on the network because the network is switching over to Peacock next month, and there's a wonky transition there. But WrestleMania is going to be exclusively on Peacock, so people in states have to worry about that, not us here in Canada or in the UK. So we're
sorry, the Treasure Show, is that on the network then?
No, that's going to be on A&E as well.
Oh, I'm even more excited.
So those are going to be on there. Thinking just offhand, Disney Plus just added a different subsection called Star to their programming, which is a little more adult entertainment wise, and you have to set your preferences so your kids don't get on them type deal. But I saw somebody posted the Ric Flair 30 for 30 that was done by ESPN a few years ago. That's actually available on Disney Plus. So if anybody's looking for any of the 30 for 30s, I'm going to guess they're there, but definitely the Ric Flair one.
Yeah, I would think that they're all there because ESPN is owned by Disney, so
yeah,
it would make sense. I don't know if you saw the 30 for 30, but it was well done.
Oh, I loved it. It was really good. I think I actually got my wife to watch it. She loves the biography parts. The final bit of news before we delve into our little project that's starting next month. AEW announced yesterday that Dark Elevation is coming to YouTube on March 15th at 7 p.m. So that's going to be on their YouTube spot on Mondays at 7. And they've been putting in women's title tournaments and stuff like that, but they're going to permanently put a show there on YouTube. It's going to be hosted by Tony Schiavone and the newly signed Paul White. the Big Show, at 49 years old, has left WWE and has signed to become All Elite. He's going to wrestle, and he's also going to commentate. The only thing I can think of, other than the fact that he still thinks he's got some gas in his tank, is they probably also tease the whole factor of, hey, we got Shaq. You can have Shaq too, because WWE didn't let you guys do it. Your thoughts on Big Show going to AEW?
Hold on. I'm getting a phone call. 1 second.
Okay. So that we'll see him just a moment. But yeah, Big Show going to AEW. It kind of surprised me in a bit, but because we'd seen him on January 4th, part of the Legends night that started off the year. But he last appearance on AEW and WWE was the whole berating and belittling by Randy Orton, and then sitting on the stage. He did the dark match of WrestleMania and got shown on Raw the next night. But yeah, he's gone, just turned 49 years old and is over in AEW. So your thoughts, Steven?
When I saw it, I was actually really surprised because, well, I really didn't expect him to go to AEW. But then the more I was reading about this, the more I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be bad. And this is why. They're going to put him in a match with Shaq. And it's going to be a shit show. He thinks he has some gas left in the tank. Cool. He probably does. He's in real phenomenal shape right now. But he can't be he's not going to be a full time. Like he loses the appeal. And my fear is he's going to come in, and I can see this now, and I'm going to end up, that will be the time I stop watching AEW, and I will never talk about it again. He's going to end up in the ring with Marco fucking Stunt.
Yeah, there's a couple of gimmicks that are going to be used with this, and they'll do the Shaq thing, do the size thing. I don't want to see him in the ring with certain people like Archer or even Luchasaurus, because he's going to make them look tiny.
But here's my fear. They're going to somehow set it up where Marco Stunt's going to end up in the ring with him. And that will be the end. That will be the end when Marco Stunt, Big Show, or Paul Wright has to take a fucking move from Marco Stunt and sell it. That will be the time when I come on this show and tell you I'm never fucking talking about AEW again. They are dead to me. Do I think that he can actually make Archer and Luchasaurus better by coaching them? 100%. Like being one of their coaches, I think they call them. I think he needs to teach Luchasaurus and Hager and Wardlow, they're 4 or 5 big guys, powerhouse Hobbs, how to be a true big man. Because he was the last true big man in the sport, other than The Undertaker.
Yep.
So if he can teach them how to be a true big man I think it's great. I have fears that Tony Khan's it's going to turn out to be a joke. He's going to fucking have to take a move from Marco Stunt, and that will be the last time we ever talk about AEW with me.
Oh, there we go. So that is wrapping up our look at everything that's major stuff, AEW, WWE, and whatnot. I'm going to just play our commercial so we can transition to the Ontario Indie March Madness details. So back in just a moment. If you want a variety of wrestling news and history, look no further than the Scumbags Wrestling family of shows. On Wednesday nights at 6 p.m., join Shawn, Steven, and Jonesy as we look for the best of the best and break it all down in a unique tournament format on Fantasy Warfare Tournament. Then Thursdays at noon, take a look back at the rich history of our great sport with This Week in History. Relive title changes, births, deaths, and some of the best events of all time. Finally, join us for the latest in wrestling news, show results, and predictions Thursday nights at 8 p.m. for the Scumbags Wrestling Podcast. The Scumbags Wrestling can be found on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Instagram, along with our audio versions on Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or anywhere else you get your podcast from. We're a proud part of the Ontario Indie Wrestling Podcast Network and the Johners Podcast Network. Okay, so we are back. And last week we did announce this. The Ontario Indie Wrestling March Madness Tournament is our third annual tournament. The last 2 years have been just 32 wrestlers. Starting March 1st to April 1st, March 31st, voting. And I'm hearing an echo, Steven. There we go. That's better, I think. But every day there's a vote, and we get via 24 hours to vote. This year, thanks to fan interaction on our Facebook page, we are up to 64 entrants. So this past Sunday, we did do the draw, and you'll see it this Sunday as a special edition of the show. But we also were able to reach out to the talent that are involved, let them know who they're against, and we're getting a few promos to help promote the show and even their draw. So, Steven, your thoughts on it?
Well, we spent, I don't even know, an hour, I feel like. And I'm looking at the bracket right here, and it's stacked. I can think of a few first-round matches that you guys will find out about on Sunday that me and Sean's face hit the floor with matchups. And you're like, that could be a finals match. So I am quite interested. And
there's some of these matchups that I end up randomly drawing. I would love to book on a show.
Yeah. There's also some of the guys that me and Sean guys and gals, may not have known. And I've been doing a little bit more research about some of them, that's what this is about. Some of these people that we've, especially since COVID, we haven't been able to see or don't know much about. It's kind of fun now to ask around and be like, so-and-so, where are they? Like, so, and other friends in podcast world and wrestlers that we know are more than willing to answer and be like, oh, they're from so-and-so, and they're so I'm excited. I'm looking at it here, and I think you're going to post around 7 a.m. yours, and I'll be posting around noon every day.
You'll have two votes to do, 7 and noon. I'm posting at 7 because it's the best time after I walk my dog and before I go to work, and so I can remember to do it, and it's easier to close for me. Do you want to read off some of the names without giving away some of the matchups? Just randomly say some names that are in this tournament.
We've got Violet Lee, Shane Saber, Casey Spinelli, Rosemary, Allison Kay, Warhead, Pretty Ricky, Josh Alexander, Tyson Dukes, Daniel Garcia, Psycho Mike, The Muscle, Von Vertigo, Frankie TM, Carter Mason, Michael Grayson, Rodney Matthews, Puff, Mark Wheeler, Idris Abraham, Jody Threat, Jim Strider, Matt Cash, Jordan James, Jay Loon, Kyle Boone, the Hacker, Scotty O'Shea, Brent Banks, Beautiful Bee, Cody Deaner, John Greed, Kevin Blackwood, Shiloh, Travis Moore, The Muscle, Alec Realm, Scumbag Yates.
So there's a good mixture of their, like you said, 64 entrants. Some of them are newer to the scene, students, and then there's some veterans like Scotty O'Shea, Sebastian Suave, John Greed. Like, it's all over the place. They're from Southern Ontario, Northern Ontario, Ottawa area, Toronto. We tried to expand as much as possible to include everybody. And this is our way of having fans interact. This is our way of having talent interact with each other, potentially. This is not initially meant to be a promo tournament, but if the talent and the fans make it so, hey, we're going to go along with the flow and just have some fun, because it's been a long year. March was supposed to be full of a lot of events. And then March 13th happened and it got shut down. And that was before Smash and Midwestern Wrestling. I know I was supposed to go to some of their shows and expand our podcast and stuff like that with them. But it's been a long year. Let's have some fun. March 1st, tune into our Facebook page and vote daily to determine who's the best in Ontario today.
Yeah, and we'll be, like I said, Sean's putting up about 7 a.m. I'll put up my poll about noon, twice daily until we get down to where it goes closer to the finals. And I think we're going to recap the week's events every week on this show.
Yeah, so every week we'll do an update near the end. And catch people up and encourage you to continue voting. Maybe we'll be able to show some more promos, and just enjoy. Another thing that I wanted to point out, including Ontario Wrestling, was that I saw that Hamilton Wrestling Entertainment posted about Battle Zone, and not much else. There was a promo from Bianca Corelli, and she's flashing her title around and, challenging any of the women of Ontario to try and take it from her. But beyond that, there wasn't much information. So I reached out to AC Koka, who's the new owner of Battle Arts Academy and part of the ownership of Hamilton Wrestling Entertainment, just to find out what it's about. And he said, Battle Zone will be the product of GTA Wrestling with the merge of Hamilton Wrestling Entertainment acquisition of Battle Arts. Here from the Don Kozlov Arena. Also, you never know who will show up with a mix of talent on both sides. And that's all he can reveal at the moment. And so I said, great. We're going to try and be a source of news and communication for them and an outlet for you guys to try and do so. I offered a spot when it's possible to do that, and he said, really appreciate it. If you also asked for me to mention that Hamilton Wrestling Entertainment will be on Kojiko sometime in March with a different show, as well as introducing Anthony Corelli as their new partner. So they bought Battle Arts from Anthony, but he's invested back into Hamilton Wrestling Entertainment. So congratulations on that big news. That way, he's kind of gotten out of the spotlight and moved up to the Owen Sound, Ireton, Virgin Bay area just to retire and relax. He's still doing the Sportsnet Aftermath online with Jim Corderas, but he's also now a partner with Hamilton Wrestling Entertainment. So some big news from them involving Battle Zone and going on Kojiko and the partnership there. So congratulations to them, and we hope to provide more outlets. Any of the promoters in Ontario would like to have an outlet to share news we are going to be here for that. And I do plan on bringing back the Ontario Indie Road Trip. There will be a calendar for events here in Ontario, news and results, and maybe some interviews once things get back to normal, or at least again.
I can't wait for things to get back to normal. I think the Ontario Indie Road Trip is going to be fun because I'll be doing my own GTA road trip around for shows with getting results and hopefully getting some interviews and making my way down to Battle Arts. Because Anthony Corelli still owns some of Battle Arts, I think. The three of them are all partners.
They're all partners now, so.
I think the three of them are all partners in this new venture, which is great. I'm looking forward to getting back to seeing shows and being able to zip around the GTA to see shows and invite Shawn up to the GTA. We're not going there right now because
no. Thank you for.
Leave that alone.
I'm going to contact you separately for this. Thank you. Because we talked about some stuff off air. Can I off a bit. My apologies.
I have something to promote.
Yes, if you want to promote something.
So Sluggin' with Steven featuring this week was Scumbag Yates. I didn't know much about Scumbag until I reached out to him. Started doing a lot of research. He's actually quite an interesting gentleman. It's a fun read. It's on cwonline.ca. It's quite a interesting read. Next week, offline, I already told Shawn for the next 9 or 10 weeks of all the guys and gals I've got coming up. Make sure everyone checks that out. Again, that's Sluggin' with Stephen O'Neill featuring this week it's Scumbag Yates. It's at cwnonline.ca. It's definitely a fun read. Have you read this one yet, Shawn? I know you like reading these.
Not yet. I've been busy trying to do the Ontario Indie thing.
But it's a good read. It's a fun one. This one's fun. I've got a lot of everyone I've had has been great. And I thank all the talent who have done it in the past and the ones who are coming up. I do really appreciate it. Let me have my passion for pro wrestling. So please check it out again. It's Sluggin' with Stephen O'Neill featuring. It's at cwnonline.ca. I feel like this is a wrap, Shawn. How about?
I got a couple more things that we can do. I'm just we might have something going on. We'll see in just a moment. But I do want to announce this week that we are now a part of Pro Wrestling Tees. And so over the next little bit, we're going to be transitioning some of our product over to Pro Wrestling Tees, including the Ontario Indie comic book cover, which we were doing as a fundraiser for Steven's Wrestling Journey. And so those will be available there for ordering. And also we'll put up the original Scumbags t-shirt design, which is up in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. And, of course, the backdrop, the podcast logo. So those ones are definitely going to go up. And I'm just trying to answer questions. One other thing that's coming up is, I'm sorry, live news, things popping up all over the phone. So we're going to be doing our own predictions league starting in time for WrestleMania. We did stuff during Summer Royal Rumble, and we definitely want to continue. It was highly successful, and we got something coming in the mail that will wait and show next week. So more details on that are coming as we go along.
You like to surprise me every week with something new.
I do. Right now, I'm having fun. So, yeah, I'm just trying to do a DM. Do you want to talk about some of your Slugging with Steven podcast stuff?
Yeah. So, Slugging with Steven.
I just lost Steven. I'm not sure what happened here. So yeah, where you got some interesting stuff going on. I got DMs coming over here. Just want to make sure that we are being honest with everything going on. There's some news that is broken in Ontario scene a bit, so I just want to answer this email, but I don't want to end up losing us online yet. So, Steven, do you want to continue?
Yeah, sorry, I hit the wrong button and then I end up going bye-byes. So, Slugging with Steven is something, if especially our new UK viewers wouldn't know about me. I'm a huge Jim Cornette fan, huge. So the name Slugging with Steven is obviously a play on the Louisville Slugger. That's something that I loved his weekly I'm drawing a blank. His weekly interview segment. So I started doing this, I want to say 8 weeks. March 19th of 2020 was my first one, so we're a little over a month in. I've had, so far it's only been guys, but I do have some lady wrestlers coming. I've had Anthony Kingdom James, Jim Strider, Von Vertigo, the endorsement Sebastian Suave, Holden Albright. This week was Scumbag Yates. Drops every Tuesday at 6 p.m. on cwnonline.ca. And I did it a little differently than a podcast. A lot of people, including myself, don't necessarily have a lot of extra time to do more podcasting for videos. And I know, like myself, I have a full-time job. A lot of the talent have full-time jobs on top of this. So I did a 10 questions. They're more unique questions than your standard how did you get started questions. Shawn looks like he's ready to pull his hair out.
Yeah, sorry. I'm just trying to. Yeah,
I know. So try. I want to do something different, and that's when the opportunity presented from Chris Maloney, who was on, who was with us on TNT. He has his weekly show Friday at 3:00 on CWN Online. So it kind of worked where I've had a little bit more free time because the world shut down basically right now. So once the world opens back up, probably still I'll be doing this slug on feet with Stephen O'Neill featuring someone, but I'll also be doing a lot more results in it from shows in and around the GTA. There'll be some probably crossovers between CWN and Scumbags for my interviews, because when I'm actually able to be out and doing interviews, it'll be a little more entertaining. So yeah, it's I really enjoy doing it. I've got, like I said, I think the next 10 weeks lined up with already filled out and returned interviews. I just have to go through and format some of them and get them posted to for them to be finalized and put up over the next 10 weeks. Are you okay, Shawn?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. I'm just trying to find that DM address, and hopefully we get the... I'm trying to make a message. I've also posted in their talk, so we'll see what happens in just a moment. Yeah, WrestleMania is coming up April 10th and 11th. We already have one match that is happening with Roman and Edge. So what else do you think is going to happen at WrestleMania?
Well, we know it's going to be split over 2 nights. So we know Edge and Reigns on probably night, I'm guessing 2. Sorry, me and Shawn are talking separately on a separate conversation, just so me and him are on the same page on what's going on, what he's doing. You're going to have the women, each night's going to have a women's world title match. You're going to probably have, you'll have your Intercontinental and the US title on each night. Who else? Well, you're going to have your women. I'm assuming you're going to have your women's world tag team title match on one of the nights.
Yeah, they'll be splitting up probably the 2 world titles. I would imagine the WWE Championship being on the first night, with the second night ending with Roman and Edge.
Well, you're gonna have your women's title split, and you'll have your mid card title split on one on each night too. I'm guessing.
Yeah, that would be my guess. You know what? I'm not sure what's going on. We did have somebody making comments that wanted to possibly be on, and I'm not sure. Now that you wondered if it was legit or not, I hope it's legit. If that person wants to join us, I think we can do a separate talk and let that come up. We'll go live if we need to, and yeah, I'm willing to. I'm willing to do it.
Let's pull the curtain back a little bit. Me and Shawn usually talk before we go live and after we go live, just chit-chatting. So if we have to go live again, we'll post it.
It'll be some breaking news if this is legit. I wasn't sure if I was going to go to that realm, but I don't want to talk anymore about that. So I do want to thank everybody for being a part of episode 143. Definitely vote on the Ontario Indie March Madness tournament that we're going to start on March 1st. And look out for our store opening on Pro Wrestling Tees, and, of course, the Prediction League coming up. So until next time, have a good one.